whatever happened to the degen part of crypto? That kind of grassroots, kind of uh, bottoms up, builder led, retro side of crypto that we all kind of knew and loved way back when. I'll tell you, I've been in crypto since actually 2017, and there have been very, very few communities that I think have kind of fit this profile. But Sanko, what we're talking about today, is probably the closest to it thus far. We're actually going to be talking about a couple things. Mainly their layer 3, the Orbit chain that they have, the live streaming platform, their gaming platform, some of the community created apps, and kind of what we can expect to see from the Sanko community and team in the future. But for those of you who don't know, Sanko is kind of self-described as like this multimedia conglomerate of gaming and social experiences with a network of developers and creators focused on building apps. I mentioned a couple of things here, a lot of different things, but we're actually going to jump through it step by step. First, we'll start off with the Orbit chain. So just some stats to give you guys a little bit of context. Sanko is a layer 3, like I just mentioned, sitting on top of Arbitrum 1, and it's actually currently the highest TVL Arbitrum Orbit chain, layer 3 Orbit chain, in existence right now. If you're looking at L2Beat, which is the website I have pulled up over here, it's actually first is Sanko, second is degen chain, and third is Zai. And Sanko is definitely leading TVL by quite a large margin. Now, granted, TVL isn't the kind of end-all be-all for metrics when it comes to orbit chains. I would actually argue they're the first and only really successful cult orbit chain. And when you ask me, there's kind of two reasons why you have an L3. A, because you have a cult-like community like Sanko, or B, because you have kind of killer apps or killer products that need their own throughput. And most other orbit chains, I think, will fit that category if it makes sense for them to even have it. So like a lot of the ones here probably make more sense to have more throughput versus TVL. But that being said, the other thing that I think Sanko currently brings to the ecosystem actually is a very, very vibrant kind of organic meme coin community within the Arbitrum kind of ecosystem, right? Meme coins on Arbitrum, frankly, don't do that well. But it seems like on Sanko, they just have a complete mind of its own, which is obviously great for the broader community. That being said, there are a couple things that's probably worth mentioning when it comes to Sanko chain. One is that DMT is actually used as the gas token. For most layer 2s, currently ETH is used, but I do think most layer 3s actually have their own custom ones. So DMT in this case is Sanko's token in question. They do benefit from that 250 millisecond block speed by design, which is great. And of course, they, as I mentioned earlier, sit atop Arbitrum 1, so they definitely benefit from having all that liquidity kind of built in from day one. And for those who don't know, actually, they ask what's the reason to use, just for example, like a layer 2 or a layer 3, I should say, over a layer 2. One of the great reasons is because when it comes to onboarding, if said layer 3 does not have exchange kind of listings built in already, it's a great way to actually onboard people at a very, very cheap cost. If you have a layer 2 and you don't have exchange listings, you have to go from Ethereum to that chain, which usually you will incur a ton of fees. But if you're sitting on top of Arbitrum 1, you can simply withdraw to Arbitrum 1 from any exchange and then bridge over to that layer 3, which in Sanko's case, you would do the same thing. And in that case, it's very, very cheap, so you never have to touch Ethereum. You literally just touch Arbitrum and then Sanko. That being said, let's hit some of the products. The first one I mentioned was actually Sanko.tv. There are actually a ton of really good streamers kind of always, live streaming things here. Early on in the day when they launched Sanko TV, maybe over a year ago, it was kind of a slow start, but ever since then, they've kind of had almost like a organic kind of community within Sanko TV. And obviously, for those who are kind of more active on Twitter, but also like live streaming, they've also kind of chosen Sanko TV as their own home for live streaming instead of like a YouTube or instead of like a Twitch. I also personally myself stream on here as well. So it's a no-brainer, to be honest, for almost anyone in the Arbitrum or even just broader kind of crypto community. There's actually one going on right now with the how should I call him? Kind of like our local live streamer Gitsmall. Shouts to him. With a Simple Farmer, Smoothie Phone guys, which we'll actually kind of talk about in a little bit. But they're also kind of these things called passes within Sanko TV. You can actually buy streamers passes to get access to their content. By default, content is gated. Like technically, it's token gated, so you buy someone's pass, give access to their content. But most streamers on Sanko do actually boost their streams, pretty much allowing people who don't have access to your pass to watch it for free. There's kind of like a kind of mechanism or curve to how boosting works. I'm not going to go into detail on it just because of how complicated it kind of is, but the general idea is most people streaming on Sanko TV do boost their content, so it is free. But there are some, for example, this one that aren't boosted. And it's kind of just a function of how many tips you get while you're live streaming. But that being said, it's a very interesting kind of mechanism that they've kind of implemented here, and that's kind of why I also like experimenting with it, because I don't post a lot on YouTube anymore, but I do happen to live stream quite a bit on Sanko TV. And also, just for a little more background, they do have, this is technically lives on Arbitrum 1, and they do have social login. They do plan on moving this to Sanko Chain relatively soon. I don't have the exact date. By the time you watch this video, maybe it will have already moved. But this is just one of a few products that we'll touch on today that currently live on Arbitrum 1 instead of Sanko Chain. Next, we have Sanko Pets. This is probably the most popular Sanko app currently. This is actually on Sanko Chain as well. This is the front page. I'll kind of just log in here and you can kind of take a look at what it looks like. You can actually own an NFT called a bun, which is this little guy. Oh, it looks like I fell through the floor. You can actually own different buns and kind of just like switch between all of them. I have 3 of them personally. They all act as different NFTs, and some of them are sleeping because I haven't fed them, and some of them are obviously just doing just fine. Like this guy, I make sure he's always fed. The other guys, not so much. The cool part about these NFTs though is that they aren't technically ERC 721s. They're like a different kind of NFC. They're called like backpack NFTs. So they're NFTs that can actually hold NFTs within them. So this guy actually has a bunch of smaller NFTs here. So you can kind of, it's like another way in a way to like compartmentalize, I guess, this kind of game protocol that they have. But I think it's a really interesting way of doing it because I've never seen another game actually implement it the way they have. It's actually I think at first it's a little confusing, but once you actually kind of play the game and understood how it works, it's actually very simple. But essentially what that means is, you can buy and sell these little NFTs here with NFTs and tokens within them. So this guy holds actually 0.25 gold, which is like an ERC20 within Sanko Pets. And I can actually choose to send and receive it with my main wallet, which is pretty interesting. Again, I won't go too deep into it because you can get into a rabbit hole pretty quick, but nonetheless, it is very, very cool. And I think, they keep on adding updates, frankly, to the game. You can go to the general store, you can buy things. The main feature, the main thing that you can do really at the end of the day is actually buy seeds from the store, go to the farm as we were at previously, and kind of plant them. And in return, you get fruits, which can be used to feed your pets, but also they can also be sold into the market for gold. And then gold, of course, is kind of like the main currency for the Sanko Pet universe. I think they do actually a really good job in kind of giving everything use, but also giving things a sync. Over time, they'll probably be adding more and more things, like more and more use cases for these Sanko Pets, their stats, and kind of just how gold plays into the entire ecosystem, just generally. So definitely worth jumping into Sanko Pets if you don't have a bun already. You do need to bridge DMT from Arbitrum to the Sanko chain to partake in anything on Sanko chain, including Sanko Pets. But you can easily either buy DMT from Ethereum or Arbitrum and then bridge over to Sanko chain. So it's great. The next thing we'll hit on is the Sanko tools. Those two, by the way, were kind of the main apps that most of the Sanko ecosystem uses right now. So the live streaming platform and the game. Sanko chain itself has its own explorer called Sanko Tools, and it's actually pretty cool. So like they have like kind of like a whole list of different kind of meme coins they have here. This is kind of a live view of the TPS happening on Sanko chain, as well as different kind of like ecosystem dashboard showcasing the different things that are live on Sanko. These are just a couple. There are actually quite a bit more, and a little bit of a chart to showcase all the NFTs that are being buying and sold on Sanko chain using, I think this only feeds it from SudoSwap, which is kind of like an NFT platform that people currently use to buy and sell buns, as well as other NFT items within the Sanko universe. And then moving from here, I think it's probably worth talking about. I mentioned meme coins earlier, and I think the best part about meme coins, and I'll touch on it for a second here before we bring it up on the screen, is that like I said, there isn't much of a meme coin community on Arbitrum right now, and I think a lot of people. I'll tell you what I hear from a lot of people. It's because Arbitrum is very, very DeFi heavy, and it's kind of the liquidity layer in a way of crypto. It's like I think it probably has the second most liquidity to Ethereum, probably. there are a lot of mid curves, probably like myself. So the Sanko L3 almost kind of serves as this like compartmentalized part of Arbitrum in my mind that is like perfect for meme coins. It's like a breeding ground for meme coins. So, for example, they have the main app that they use here, and I'll actually mute the mic here so it's not too loud. Is Camelot. They also have they own the kind of swapping feature here that you can click on, and it also feeds from Camelot as well. But it's technically a ton of tokens that you can buy from. As whenever someone actually launches a token, you can actually see it on this list of tokens here. By the way, none of this is financial advice. The tokens that I have there too, by the way, are just like some people have sent those to me. I bought some of them. Some of them have been sent. Not an indication of what you should be buying or you shouldn't be buying. But the point is that because the community is very how do you say, kind of like I mentioned earlier, grassroots and very kind of left curve, kind of like meme and organic focused. You do have a pretty good amount of people partaking within meme activity. And it kind of leads me to the next point of how many meme deployers there are on Sanko. There are actually quite a bit. We'll touch on Fenko.tech, which is probably one of the main ones currently. This is actually created by Raz, someone on crypto Twitter. Kind of been iterating on it ever since they launched it. They have like an Explorer feature where you can launch tokens right away. You can swap tokens that are already live here as well. There's also Fugazi.trade or Fugazi.trade. They're actually live on Sanko and I think even Zai as well as Arbitrum, which is pretty cool. Oh, and Araya too. I didn't know that. And it's kind of a similar protocol. There's also Basecamp, I think. It's funny enough, I think one of the more popular meme coins actually launched on Basecamp, so it's kind of funny because I think they launched first technically. But the point is that there's a ton of different kind of protocols and kind of projects out there that do lend themselves to this kind of meme coin craze that everyone obviously has been familiar with in crypto, like literally the past couple of months. I mean, meme coins have been absolutely insane the past couple months, and Sanko Chain, once they actually went live, I think it was maybe a month or two ago at this point, really benefited a lot from it. That's for sure. Let me see, what do we have next? We have the Camelot thing, the token deployers. There are two other products more recently that have been definitely catching a lot of momentum recently. Again, none of this is financial advice. Kind of just want to make sure we're highlighting some of the most relevant stuff as of this video. We have Sanko Bros here. They introduced something called Sanko Snap and Sanko Drop. I think this was released literally earlier today even. Yeah, literally this morning. It's essentially a UI for everyone in Sanko to take snapshots of token holders and to airdrop tokens or NFTs to fellow Sanko Bros. The cool part about this one is this is actually created by my guy Lux over here, who was previously a big fan of Friendtech. I don't know if they still are, but they kind of have shifted some of their focus over to developing on Sanko Chain because, and like you can even see it in the tweet here, look at how appreciative Sanko is to the builder. Minutes after launching Sanko Drop, they immediately use it. The mission has always been in uniting Sanko's communities, current and future, to make it the stickier chain possible and to bring the liquidity from L2 to, I'm sure, L3. I think the whole point of kind of me showing you this here is that Sanko Chain does lend itself to builders in that it's very because the ecosystem is so small and because it's so kind of tight knit. Whenever you build something that people feel like as actual utility, you will get people using it without a doubt. Has there been a rug or two here and there? 100%. Actually, a lot less than I expected. I think there was only one, and I think most people kind of knew it was a rug like a little while ago. But that being said, it's just a community of a lot of bullish people on just like a grassroots protocol that really lends itself towards the average kind of builder in a way. And Sanko Bros and kind of what these guys are building right now is definitely one example of it. Smoothie Phone is the other one. I think I can probably bring up their thing over here. They actually have their own mini game. They have their own NFT collection, and they're also like a meme coin alongside Sanko Bros. But they've also just been absolutely killing it. They're planning on doing a couple of other things too. I don't know how much I can leak because I've spoken to some of these guys already, and frankly, like what they've been doing is great. So I definitely just want to make sure we're highlighting these guys as of this video. But these are just a couple of good examples of what it's like to be a builder within Sanko. A lot of these guys, you don't even necessarily need like backing from like the main Sanko team themselves, because the community will literally do that for you. And that's what's great about Sanko. That being said, moving on, what about the future of Sanko? Well, there are a couple things. Number one, and I mentioned it earlier, is that some of the older products, such as the Sanko Dream Machine, which includes kind of like Tekken and some of the arcade games that they had back in the day, are planning on being migrated from Arbitrum to Sanko. I don't know what the timeline is on that, like I said, but that is planning to actually happen. Sanko TV will also be migrated over to Sanko Chain. I do think that's happening much sooner than the actual arcade games. But the other thing, and this literally happened the other day, so I figured I had to mention it, is Sankoscape. And I'll bring this up on the screen here as well. It's been kind of a meme where like people think that like whenever Sanko mentions something, it's like, oh yeah, like they're just memeing. Like for example, no, people actually thought the Sanko L3 was a joke. Like no one knew that they were actually building a chain, even though they've said it multiple times. They just thought it was part of like the copy pasta. Sankoscape was another thing that I thought was part of the copy pasta. I knew they were building a chain, so that to me wasn't a surprise, but this was a surprise. It looks like they're actually building I have to think it's like an old school RuneScape server within like Sanko Pets, because you can even see like the menu sign over here in the top left, which is synonymous with the current Sanko Pets UI. Insane stuff. So Sankoscape is coming. I imagine this is going to be kind of like a RuneScape private server if you've played one of those before. But either way, it's very, very fun. I'm just curious to see how they tie in the gold stuff with Sanko. But that's probably one of the main things. I think there are a couple things coming as well. But frankly, these guys are definitely one of the teams that keep things very, very close to their chests. Some things they keep very close to their chests. Some things they kind of hint at for a while, like some of the bigger things, like Sankoscape and like the L3. But these guys ship very, very quickly. I think I've been in the Sanko community actually for a long time now, ever since they launched the live streaming platform, just because I love kind of people who are creating content creation kind of tech on the Arbitrum ecosystem. But it's definitely worth keeping an eye on, especially as we see kind of the Orbit chain L2 L3 narrative I think starts to pick up. Sanko chain, in my opinion, is definitely will definitely be like one of the biggest beneficiaries in terms of like just mind share. There's a lot of people I think that are aligned with their vision and just straight up building things and kind of having that grassroots community, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video. And for what it's worth, I've been working at Offchain Labs for over 3 years, and I tell you what, I mean, like the early Arbitrum vibes, to me feels very, very similar to the Sanko community right now. In that, like I said, very, very builder driven, very grassroots. They don't really need incentives for people to come over to their own chain. People just want to come, and I think it's very, very few layer 3s are going to flourish as a generalized chain like Sanko will. And it's just because like you already have Arbitrum and a lot of other layer 2s kind of competing for that mindshare. So while Sanko is technically, in a way, you could argue competing for a similar mindshare, they just have a completely different, approach to community building, and that's what I think will set them apart in the long run. But that being said, guys, thank you for watching. If you have any kind of notes or comments about Sanko and interested in kind of just jumping into the ecosystem, make sure you take a look. Give me a follow, give Smoothie Williams a follow, and obviously follow the main Sanko account. And I'm probably going to be doing some more overview videos for maybe even different Orbit chains as well. Zai will most likely be next. Big fans of those guys as well. We should all be building together, I think, within the Arbitrum Orbit ecosystem, because, I mean, there's going to be a lot of chains. I think everyone knows that already. The question is how many, and how many will end up carving that much needed kind of part of the crypto universe in for themselves and in for that chain. Let's see. That being said, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. All right. Peace out.